If I sound a little giddy and excited, you'll have to I'll have to apologize to you this morning because Doug Gray is on the phone. He is the singer. He is a founding member. He is the front man of the Marshall Tucker Band. And Doug Gray, Dougie, it's good to talk to you again, Chief. Long time no see. How you been?
Hey, man, I've been doing great, touring around the world with Skinner and touring with, of course, Charlie and everybody else. It seemed like all of a sudden people want to know why, and it's kind of crazy after so many years. People want to know why Marshall Tucker Band's been talked about everywhere. You know, it's because of people like you and the radio people that are listening to us. And, I mean, it's kind of like they're proud to be a part of what we've been doing all these years, and they're appreciating it, too. Hey, listen, let's face it, without the crowd and without people like you, we would have nowhere to go, and I'd be sitting down on the beach somewhere probably being happy eating bananas, you know?
Right. Doug and the rest of the band, the Marshall Tucker Band, are going to be in Southern Illinois. There aren't many tickets left for this benefit for the Marion Ministerial Alliance's Food Pantry. It's July 26th, which is a Friday night at the Marion Civic Center. You're going to, by the way, you're going to like the venue, Doug. This money is going to be helping.
Pictures of it on the internet, and it was beautiful, so I can't wait.
It is, and it's this Will Rock for Food, Southern Style. There's going to be some opening acts there as well. How long you been on the road, Dougie? How long?
Oh, I've been on the road for almost 50-something years.
Yeah.
40. It's been 40, right at 48 years with Marshall Tucker Band since me and Toy and Tommy started it when we got back from Vietnam, and it's been a long road. It's no musician in their right mind would say we've been successful for 40 years. Nobody usually is successful more than 5 or 6 years in our business because our business is it's not cutthroat. What it is people's taste changes. So they go from one type of music, and as we've spoken, Waylon Jennings, Can't You See, made it on the charts bigger than Marshall Tucker's Can't You See.
Right.
And that was our song. So, who cares? Our attitude is we can't believe that we're actually out here opening we opened for Kid Rock one minute, the next minute we're down there with Skinner, and the following minute Santana's playing with us. I don't know how to explain to people why. That's why you talking about you getting excited. People have to calm me down because I can't believe it. And there's never a hand, including all the people that help set up the crew, that I don't appreciate being there because, it's kind of almost like they're doing it as being a part of it instead of really having to work it.
Right.
Because most of those people are smiling. They all watch. And when you get musicians from the local area that comes and they stand on the side of the stage just to see what we're talking about for all these years. And certainly we've had a lot of changes, but, that's the ups and downs of anything that we do in life, families as well.
And you're in the bottle, so let me, from the outside looking in, tell you how I see this, all right? I've been playing Marshall Tucker since 1976, all right? Okay. Because you're my band, right? Whenever I hooked up the 8-track player on Granddad's tractor, it was to play Marshall Tucker, Kiss, and Queen. All right, there's a group, right? I only had 3 8-tracks. But the day that I spent on stage with you in Dix, Illinois, it was the Budweiser Music Festival. It was for July 4th. I'd never met you guys. Now, I knew a little bit about Tommy and Toy.
Sure.
Right, and which we'll get to a little bit later on. But when I got to meet you and meet the rest of the band and then hear you, I found out, wow, real honest-to-good cowboy country gentleman, right? People love working with you. The day that you and I were working together, John Kay from Steppenwolf was throwing a fit, because a piece of equipment got turned off, where you guys go, it'll be all right. We'll figure it out. We've been around. We know there's a storm here. We're going to give the crowd what they want. When I worked with you, I worked with one of the most professional bands I had ever worked with in my life.
Well, thank you very much. And we still are that way. It's kind of we're 23 people. I talked with one of my crew guys that had some back surgery because I just recently, 4 months ago, had back surgery myself from a car accident, and we didn't make it public, but now I can because I'm doing good. But it never slowed me down. I took a month off and did all that walking up the stairs crap, and then then he goes in, one of my truck drivers, and he's hurt his back. So, I've given him 4 weeks off so that he could get himself back in order. They're all part of this whole thing. There's every crew guy. Well, a little tell you story. Every crew guy gets together that's still alive. All those guys that worked with us in the very beginning, and I'm talking about 1971 to 72. All of those guys get together on a weekend. Every so often, I'll put together a trip for everybody where the band and the crew gets together, and whether it's Jamaica, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, or whatever it is, we all get together and cook food, have a good time. It's like a picnic, a real picnic for family, and we all get to tell lies and stories.
Yeah, play with sharp objects and tell lies. That's one of my favorite pastimes.
Telling lies and making up. No, they
right.
call it embellishing. We're embellishing on some of our stories.
Because when I watched you guys up on stage, I'm like, wow, not only they're nice guys, they come up and they're gentlemen, and they sound great. And here I am standing with Dougie, who's like, I'm calling him Mr. Gray, and he says, it's Dougie to you, okay?
Right, yeah.
And so I'm talking at Dougie we're standing there because there's been some weather issues, and we're getting ready to bring the band. You were staying at a house on the backside of a lake. We were bringing you around on a pontoon boat because we couldn't get through the crowd.
Right.
And I'm telling you the story, and I'm hoping you remember this. I started when I was 16 years old. I worked on the farm during the day, and then I worked at a country radio station from 6 to midnight. Usually on the weekends is where I got my first start. It's the seventh oldest radio station in the United States. I brought my Marshall Tucker album in, and I played Marshall Tucker. And I'm suspended for a week because I played Marshall Tucker, and it's not country. And so I'm back in 2 weeks, and I'm unsuspended. And the first thing I do is play Marshall Tucker and Charlie Daniels. And they're saying it's not country. I'm going, which one of you boys has got an 8-track player on the back of a tractor listening to country? Nobody? Just me? Trust me. This is good. It's country, but it's more. Right? But, I mean, that's one of my prouder moments because I'm like, nope, these boys are good. I'm playing it.
Well, you know what? You were taking that chance that a lot of other stations took that chance as well because we didn't fit in the rock and roll hard stuff and we didn't fit in the country stuff. But yet now here I go. I just played CMA Sunday, okay, that CMA Fest. And then I'm home now for 2 days. Then I'm going back to Austin, and then a few weeks from now, I go to the Grand Ole Opry and play. So for a band that nobody knew what we were, and Billboard magazine said it best, okay? They said they play jazz, they play country, they play rock and roll, and they got a flute in the band. We don't know what the hell kind of music to call it.
Right.
And then that was it. So what we did at that point is we just decided not to ever brand it. We just put a name on it. Take it down the road as use the logo we had, and we've continued to use that logo ever since about 74.
Yeah.
It's even though the band's been together, we didn't have any substantial. Man, all we wanted to do was play. We were gone first 4 years with opening for the Allman Brothers and other bands and jazz bands and wherever we could play. We were just out there playing. It didn't matter. I mean, you don't have to be humble to know that we didn't even have cell phones when we started.
That's right. Okay?
We didn't have cell phones, and as far as fast cars, there was fast cars around, but we all of us just wanted one. We didn't care about. We were just happy that somebody had something that could go fast.
Yeah.
Being from the South, I grew up less than a half a mile. Anybody that knows anything about NASCAR, I grew up a half a mile away from David Pearson and Cotton Owens and some of those legendary people that, have passed now. But I learned a lot. I mean, I was hanging out with their kids and stuff. Then I set 2 IHA national drag racing records myself, my old little 66 Chevy 2 Nova. So it never stopped.
Right.
And that's probably something you didn't even know.
No, I didn't.
Because we didn't have to, it was fun. You didn't have to go broadcasting that you were having a little bit of fun.
Right, on the
it's
side.
like taking a girl out for the weekend. You don't want to tell everybody you took her out.
That's right.
It's ridiculous, unless you wanted to.
Right.
Then you broadcast it and you marry her and you stayed with her for 45 years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It was interesting. Yesterday afternoon, I've got my Marshall Tucker playlist. I'm laying on the bed petting my dog after I got home from work, and I'm listening to Marshall Tucker. And something struck me, and I'm not sure why. I think it's because the prospect of speaking to you today and listening to you. It's one of the older recordings, and I'm like, boy, that sounded like a soul singer.
Yeah. You know how I am. I mean, you know what my background is. So for the people that don't know, I was a rhythm and blues singer out there doing that even before I went to Vietnam. I was like 9 and 10 years old and 15 years old, and we were out doing the Drifters and the Towns and going to see all this jazz stuff, me and Toy would, and looking and seeing how they were playing and learning. I guess that was the learning period. They would let us out of high school, Toy and myself. They'd let us out, the 11th and 12th grade. The principal says, y'all ain't going to have nothing but music the rest of your life. You might as well go ahead. You ain't going to learn nothing here. We're going to let you out early and let you go to your shows, your gigs you got. You know what? He did. He was the greatest guy, and he understood. That's what a good principal is all about, I think.
Right.
He let us go out and let us go play that gig about 100, 200 miles away sometimes. And we'd go play that show and see him Monday morning, right back again, and we learned from that kind of stuff. But I had soul stuff that we was doing, and then we did stuff from Question Mark and the Mysterians, and then, all kind of older bands that had made it. Certainly, my first concert that I went to was James Brown, believe it or not.
Really?
I was the only white boy in there, okay? And I say that only because nobody gives a big crap about any of that stuff anymore unless the people that are haters. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and are looking for something to argue about. And I feel as if by, it was only like 3 blocks from my house, and then I heard James Brown was there. I'd already heard him on the radio. And I knew that the big band was going to be there. So, and that impressed me that anybody that had a big band was over the top. I wasn't around for the swing era, but I knew big band sounds. And so I snuck in. I just walked in. Actually, it wasn't sneaking when the door was open. Okay.
Right.
So I just walked in, and I stood around and finally got me a place where I could stand. The place was Soul Slam outset. It was Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium. And I'm standing in there, and I look around, and I'm the only white guy in there. Okay. So I knew from that day on that this was part of my life, is to learn how to sing that effects. When he did It's a Man's World, first of all, anybody that ever listened to that is going to have, they're going to have soul in their body.
It evokes something out of you. And it does. It literally is evocative on an emotional level, and you can achieve that. And I've watched you do it time after time where you put yourself in. So you see those early influences. I mean, when I think about it, a progressive jazz, progressive country soul rock band with intricate stuff that goes on that people are going, until you see them live, until you see the jam on Can't You See, or whatever the case, you don't have any true appreciation. We're about to run out of time because I know you've got things to do today. You're on the road. This event is coming up July 26th. There'll be some opening acts. This is a Friday night. You can get your tickets at marioncccc.com. Dougie Gray is on with us. He's the lead singer. He's the front man. He's a founding member of the Marshall Tucker Band. We could have talked about how that came about, but maybe another time, Dougie. But before I let you go, you've been on the roads forever. You have suffered incredible tragedy with the loss of the Caldwell boys. I can remember when it came across the Associated Press, ding, 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 ding.
Right.
And I see about the crash, and I've got the album 10th in my hand.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I whip It Takes Time on as quick as I can get. I'm working on an FM station then from 6 to midnight. But you have suffered tragedy and you kept on going. Is that part of the driving force, this vision that came from the Caldwell brothers and what you had with brothers from a different mother's, how we talk about it?
Well, you're exactly right. And the thing is, it's just like going into the Grand Ole Opry. I'm going to change gears for a minute. I knew that Toy and Tommy, being the country people in the band, okay, I knew that I would be emotional. Okay, I knew that the emotion was there, and I tried to cover it up with jokes like I always do. But I knew that if Tommy and Toy were walking in that stage, that I was invited to go in. The Marshall Tucker Band was invited to go in. That they would have a tear in their heart.
Yeah.
Okay, it would be there. So we grew up together, appreciating what we had and what we didn't have, and what our parents couldn't give us. We went to high school together. You know, I mean, we knew that you can't afford that, you can't afford this, and you can't do stuff like that. For the people that were the country people that thought we weren't country, I wonder why people like Kitty Wales, this Alabama, and people like that were still doing our songs.
Right.
And today's Zach Brown, actually, I think they have changed it over. They're set over now. But they were doing Can't You See?
Yeah.
Of course, now my nephew is in Zach Brown, okay?
Right.
So that's Clay Cook. And so I appreciate the fact. Oh, and by the way, we just played CMA Sunday, but I had Craig Wayne Boyd up there from The Voice, and I had a new girl, Audie Mack, that was a sixth-season person on The Voice. And the reason it was coincidental, I became friends and stayed in touch. When people get on there and they do our songs and they do other people's songs, there's no label on it. They just go out there and do it.
Right.
And they do it because they love it and they feel an emotional attachment. Listen, anybody that comes to the show is certainly going to walk away with a different feeling in their heart, not necessarily for their loved one, but for everybody in general.
Doug Gray, he's a founding member of Marshall Tucker Band. He'll be in Marion with the rest of the boys coming up July 26th. There are some tickets available. You want to get in on this. It also helps feed people in Southern Illinois. This is a Will Rock for Food Southern-style concert. Dougie, I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Like I said, if you just now joining us in the interview, I have never worked with a band as professional and personally meet them and see what they can do on stage and how they strive for an incredible show night after night and bring something special to the stage. And Dougie Gray is out there front doing it every time around. And, Doug, I'm really looking forward to seeing you in Marion coming up in July 26th. Really looking forward to it, pal.
Buddy, I appreciate everything you said. I appreciate your honesty. Listen, just come on in and let's have some more talks.